not the Zimbabwe that we're living in right now, where one cannot even freely express themselves. You'll find that I'm serving 385 hours of community service for freely expressing myself.
Hello and thank you for joining us right here on Access TV. My name is Zanu and this is The Shift, a program where we bring our women mentors who are here to inspire us and talk about their stories so that we also begin to craft our own stories. Today in studio, I'm joined by a woman in politics. She's going to share with us her political journey, but most importantly, women participation as we draw towards the 2023 elections. Stay tuned. Thank you for staying with us, and today in studio I'm joined by the president of LEAD, President Linda Masarira. Thank you so much for coming to the program.
You're welcome, Marimba.
And we're quite excited to have women participating in politics. And maybe just to start the conversation, how is your year so far?
I think 2023 is quite hectic. It's a bit tense. There's an atmosphere of artificial peace, which is quite worrisome. It's an election year, but you find that most political parties are not even in the election mood yet, and you cannot really ascertain what really is happening, where the wind is going towards. There's been a lot of talks of the delimitation report, how messed up it was, the rejection of the report, coming back of the report, the talks of people want to postpone elections, the talks of coalitions. So you really can't understand what's happening and where we are really going politically as a country. So this year is quite an awkward year, and I'm hoping that maybe by the end of February we will be able to understand what really is happening to the political economy in this country.
And we see maybe other political parties being arrested. We see other people now doing rallies around the country. Have you started as a party as well?
Labour economists and African Democrats does not believe in rallies because there isn't that physical interaction with the actual voter. We have always maintained from the formation of the party that we will have home meetings with a few local people at a time. Why? We want to get to understand, to know people, to know what they need in their local areas, and to groom homegrown leaders that are coming from the grassroots. What we've been having in this country since 1980 is more of populist politics. I'm the one who can fill stadiums. I can use propaganda to get people to vote for me. But we are coming on with a social approach. We want to get to know the people. We want to understand them. And we now want leaders to come from within the people because they understand the problems that they're going through. The councillors and MPs we've had since 1980 are people who are more interested in primitive accumulation of wealth. For them, it is now a job. It is now a hobby. They will keep on going back, promising people things they don't deliver because they know that they are just riding on the binary populist politics that we have in this country. And for us, we realize that we will not be able to get our message to the grassroots by telling people to come into a stadium. Because when you're in a stadium, you're doing some sort of grandstanding. You're trying to say, I'm the bigger person. But we are saying we want leadership that is coming from the people. Giving power back to the people. That is what we're trying to do. So that they choose their own leaders. They are able to mobilize at grassroots level. And that they are able to define the change that they want in their communities.
And as you see that approach, do you think it's going to work as we go towards 2023? Because I think people are used to being called for rallies. They gather up, they sing, they go back, or maybe they're given Ufum, Sipo and all that. Do you think Zimbabwe is going to be ready for that approach?
When we formed Labour Economists and African Democrats, one of our mandate was to change the political trajectory in Zimbabwe. It will not happen overnight. It will not happen in 5 years. It will not happen in 10 years. And we know and understand that it is a process. And we are willing to go through the process. That is why we have always said 2023 is not our year. And we know that it is not our year. Because 2023 elections are mainly a contestation between Triple C and Zanu Pf. But we will continue mobilizing people, educating them to understand who they are, the role they play, and how powerful and influential they are as we prepare for the 2028 elections, which we know will definitely win. 2023, we're getting in, we are learning, and we'll continue the learning process. Rome wasn't built in a day. Zanu Pf was formed in 1963, but it only attained power in 1980. MDC was created in 1999, and the late Morgan Richard Changirai died without getting into Monumutapa building. So when political parties are formed, they're just not formed for people to get into power. Some political parties like ours are more interested in changing, in transformation, and that is what we're working on. We want people to understand and accept that women can also lead political parties. We want people to also understand, the women themselves, that they've got the power to make sure that we can change the type of leadership that we have in our country. So the transformation that we are speaking to, that we are gravitating towards, will not happen in a day. And we are ready to walk the process step by step, day by day, until people understand. And I'm happy that after a very long time, people are now starting to understand the type of politics that I do. A lot of people were confused because people wanted me to bend to a particular opposition side or to a particular ruling side, but I'm not that. I'm pragmatic. I look at things as they are. If Zanu Pf is wrong, I'll call them to order. If they are right, I'll tell them, oh no, congratulations, what you have done is what people were waiting for. I'm not that person who's got this hear no evil, see no evil approach. If Nelson Chamisa is doing things wrong, I'll call him to order. That is who I am. I am not a proxy of any other political party. LEAD is a standalone party that has got its own agenda, which is purely Pan-African. That is why I'm against Zanu Pf being a Chinese and Russian sponsored party, and Triple C being a Western sponsored party. Because at the end of the day, we need to define who we are as Zimbabwean people. We are Zimbabweans. We need to get back power to Zimbabwean people. We need to ensure that we do not reverse the gains of the liberation struggle. But here we are, 42 years after independence, people are still crying for land, people are still crying for equality, people are still crying for people power. So what is important is for us as a political party to start advancing the fourth Chimurenga, and that is what we are going to do. We are going to make sure that we advance the gains of the liberation struggle and ensure that wealth goes back to the native Zimbabwean. We can't continue parceling out mines, land to Chinese people, to Russians, whilst the native Zimbabwean is suffering. We need to restore our identity as Zimbabweans. We need to restore our culture, because people without a culture are as good as dead. So that is not also going to happen in a day, because people also need to be decolonized mentally. We need to depolarize our people who are just fixated with Ndirimu Zanu or Ndirimu Chinja or Ndirimu Triple C. We are beyond that as a people. We are all Zimbabweans first before we belong to any political party. And our decisions should be based on the capacity of a political party to be able to deliver what they've promised. That is what should actually determine a person's vote.
And talking about that, you are a human rights defender, and on this program you are there to celebrate what women have done. But maybe taking you back, you were arrested during Mugabe era for maybe denouncing what the government was doing, and you were in prison for 80 days. Maybe share with with us that experience, because we have other women who want to get into politics, and when they hear your story they think, I cannot go there because I'll be arrested for speaking maybe ills of what the government is doing or what the society is doing.
What a lot of women should know is that power is never given on a silver platter. Politics is not a sister's game. Kana watoda kupinda in politics, wotosunga dzisimbe, and you should get in knowing that there is no one way to do things. There's no one who doesn't want to get out of power. And the moment you start opposing and demanding accountability in countries like ours, you will know that one day you'll get arrested. And that is the reality. And that is something that you would have to be prepared for. When I went into full-time activism, I knew that I was going to face things like this, because when I was still in labor activism, still employed at NRZ, I would get arrested for leading strikes, for demanding my salary. So it was something that I knew would happen, that I know can still happen today. If the current government thinks that I am now antagonistic towards them or etc., etc., these things happen not only in Zimbabwe. We had Diana Rigwari in Rwanda was arrested for nearly a year for just saying, I also want to run for presidency. We have had several women who've been speaking out. I've forgotten the name of the one in Uganda, who's always in and out of prison. So these are the things that you should expect, especially as a woman. Because we should not forget that these patriarchal leaders we have in Africa know the power that women have. They know the power that we can use collectively to be able to turn around things. Unfortunately, the women themselves don't know the power that they possess, because in their social family life, the example of a leader they've always known from birth is a man. And they always think that it is the men who can actually do political things, which is a struggle that we're still struggling in Africa. Because from birth, mwana musikana anozoti ava ndibaba ndo vanoprovider ndo mutungamiriri pamba. And in most cases, a girl child is not even allowed to move out of the house until they get married. So you're coming from your father to the husband, who is now supposed to be your leader.
Yeah.
So we really have issues of socialization, which are also supposed to start changing for the girl child to know that they are equal leaders. We're all born the same. There's nothing different between a man and a woman. There's nothing different between a girl and a boy, except their body parts. We all go through the same process from fetus to adulthood. We actually sometimes do much better academically than the males themselves. And I don't understand where the disconnect is, where the boy child starts thinking they are more superior than the girl child. And it also goes back to the mothers. How are they raising the boy child? Just last week I was talking to my husband and I was saying, when you go on YouTube, when you go on social media spaces, they are always talking on how to treat a husband, how a woman is supposed to do this to a husband. Who actually tells the men how to treat a wife? When you're getting married, who sits down with the men to tell the men that that is why you find that women continue to be objects of abuse, treated like second-class citizens, because we have not taken back our power, which was taken away from us by the colonizers. Back in history, way before the colonizers came, Munukadzi was actually revered. That is when Mushamukadzi, because they are the ones who actually made the decisions on behalf of the men. Hakuna dare igaro pasina tete. Hakuna hondo yaenda kunorwiwa madzimai vasati vabvuma kuti kwakuenda kunorwiwa hondo. Hakuna murume aitora mukadzi wechi2 vadzimai vasati vabvuma kuti kutorwe mukadzi wepiri. Not the nonsense that we see these days. That I say, I'm a man, I should have 4 women, I should have 5 women. That is nonsensical. The men took away the power from women, and we have to reclaim our power so that we restore order and dignity in our African societies.
Mm-hmm. Maybe going back, President Linda, as we talk about when you were in the cells, did that move you maybe to say, I'm going to quit politics?
No, it actually made me stronger. It actually made me stronger. I'm a very opinionated person. I am not one person who's easily harassed. You can ask any policeman, any ZP, CS, they will tell you that I am an unshaken person. I think I'm the first woman who led a demonstration in prison until I was removed and sent to the male prison. But they always say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I know what I stand for, I know what I want, and nothing can ever kill my spirit. I'm one person who will not accept being oppressed, who will not accept repression, and I'll fight hard for what I believe in and what I think is right. So everything that I've gone through actually made me a stronger person. And I'm happy for the experiences that I went through, because you have a certain understanding of certain things that you won't appreciate. But what I know is I left the female prison a better place, because I managed to change some things that were happening there that were illegal. Like, for example, when you're remand, you're not even supposed to go and work, because you have not yet been sentenced. But when I got into prison, I found that people on remand were actually being taken to the farms to work. And I told them that at the end, go and started mobilizing those on remand that you don't go and work when you've not been sentenced. And that is something that I left, which now people know that you cannot go and use a person who's on remand. And I was willing actually to make it a constitutional case that ZPS is actually abusing prisoners on remand. So sometimes God takes you into a certain place for you to see some things and change the things. And that is exactly what I did.
Mm-hmm. Maybe going back, can you share with us your story? How did you end up in politics?
How did I end up in politics? I think I got frustrated of the abuse whilst I was working at NRZ, and I realized that a worker was being treated like some piece of trash. Workers were not being paid their salaries on time, and if ever the salary came, it was not even a third of what you would have worked for, and we were always in salary arrears. And to me, when I looked at it at that time, the general manager was Mike Karakadzai. He had a lunch allowance of 500 USD a day, and it didn't make sense. The few allowances he would get a month, their hefty salaries, but the directors and the GMs, their salaries came in on time, and we're talking of thousands of dollars. I had to hack the computer system, because I'm an IT technician by profession, and print their pay slips and expose them to the papers that these people are earning this much, but they're not paying us. So sometimes you can do so much activism, but as long as you're not somewhere near power, you can hardly change things. It is different now, because I'm a president of a political party. I can knock on any office and tell them that this is wrong. Let's correct this way, that way, and that way, and that way. So I realized that so long you're not on the dining table, you're definitely the menu. And I told myself that I was going to push myself on the dining table. Even if I'm not invited, and one person will carry my seat and you will find me there. And you will not check me out. That is how I operate. Because if you wait for someone to give you power, you will never get it. You have to position yourself to be in that place where you are influential, where you can actually determine outcomes and results that benefit the people of Zimbabwe. But as an activist, you just make noise, post on Facebook, Twitter, and that's it. But now, if there's a problem, I can go and knock on even Commissioner Matanga's office. We have got this problem. Just recently, there's a girl who was actually reunited with her family. The father reached out to me. My daughter was trafficked. I haven't seen her in years. She was trafficked when she was 15. She's now 17. She was locked up in South Africa in a brothel. But I managed to go with the family to ZRP. They connected with police in South Africa and with Interpol. The girl was traced, and now she's back. But I don't think I could do that during the days when I was an activist. I say, so it's all about influence and how then you'll be able to relate with those in power to ensure that transformation and change happens to benefit the vulnerable in society.
Mm-hmm. Let's also celebrate the work that you have done, maybe in bringing those trafficked women. I read about how you worked, I think brought a whole group of women back to Zimbabwe. Let's maybe talk about that.
Okay, on that one, I saw a video of a lady, Fungai Manyara, who was sick and wanted to have an operation, and the employer in Kuwait did not even want her to go and get medication. I reached out to the Foreign Affairs Ministry, and then they started working with their counterparts outside the country, and we managed to get the network of the young women who had been trafficked to Kuwait for employment, and we managed to get them back. When they came back, I also reached out to the Foreign Affairs Ministry, because the ladies needed reintegration. They needed money to restart their lives. They got allowances, and I'm happy that our government actually listened to people like me and assisted the ladies. I organized counseling for them, and some are now having their tuck shops, running their flea markets, etc., which is a positive thing. And I'm always saying, let's not hesitate to lend a hand to help, especially Zimbabweans in the diaspora. A lot are going through plenty of things, and some really and genuinely want to come back home, but sometimes they don't have anyone to help them. And I'm always speaking out and saying, if you're facing any problems in the diaspora, reach out, let us help you to come back home.
Maybe let's also talk about looking at Zimbabwe during Mugabe time and now during President Idi Mnangagwa's time. How do you see the terrain maybe encouraging more women to participate in politics?
I personally think that President Mnangagwa has tried to open up spaces for women in their own party. We realize that provincial ministers, they're actually 50-50. He has tried also to put in a number of female ministers, unlike during the Mugabe era. What I am just really against the current government is their failure to uphold Section 17 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe, which speaks to gender balance. It's said that those in parliament actually agreed to have the 60 PRS seats extended. Those 60 PRS seats are illegal, they're not constitutional, and I don't even think we've got an act that even supports those 60 PRS seats. Zimbabwean women have failed to fight for their space, have failed to fight for constitutionalism, just because we are divided by the men in the political parties that will be belonging to at a particular time. It is sad that women are patriarchal gatekeepers. We cry that there's no equality, but we're not even united to ensure that Section 17 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe is actually upheld by all and sundry. Section 3 of the Constitution of Zimbabwe speaks that any act, any practice, any custom that is out of the Constitution of Zimbabwe is invalid. So why are women in Zimbabwe accepting to be given quotas, yet the Constitution is clear on 50-50? You'll find women ululating that we've been given PRS seats in council. We don't want PRS seats, we want 50-50. Women have to step up. Because as long as women do not step up, the men will continue making decisions on their behalf, and the women will continue suffering, being elbowed out systematically, and actually being happy that at least we've got something. The other tragedy that I realized in our politics is very few get into politics to serve. They're going in for the benefits. The councillors are going for the free stands. The MPs are going for the vehicles and the perks, etc. We actually have very few MPs who have actually been playing their legislative role, their representative role, and their oversight role. Plenty of them are just seated there, waiting for the 40,000 US when it comes, waiting for the cars. That's the same thing with councillors. Our roads are in a mess. There's no water. There's no service delivery. Our clinics are in a sorry state. But monies for their allowances will always come on time. Their workshops in hotels will always happen. And they'll come and tell you that it is the central government, it is this, and they continue their blame game. And the people in their ignorance or lack of appreciation of things will start taking sides. But who is suffering at the end of the day? If you're going to go back and vote for the councillors with the same councillor since 2000, in urban areas where the opposition has been ruling, that person since 2000 has had about 5 or 6 terms. Every time he gets into council, he gets 3 stands. You're actually making that person rich, and you've got no service delivery. That is the truth that people don't know. When you're voting for the same MP who's been an MP since 2000 or since 1980, that person is going to get his 5th or 6th car. And that's the truth. But what is happening? How many MPs engage? I think we'll talk of maybe people like Temba Mliswa and Joseph Chinotimba. The rest even hardly have meetings with the people who vote for them. And the people don't even know what will be happening. They don't even know about the bills. I'll give an example of how people ended up getting shocked about the Marriage Act. How did this come into law? People didn't know when it was happening. The MPs didn't go down to the grassroots to get input from the women. And when the marriage consultation meetings happened, those who were interested with the opposition made sure that they mobilized those who would say yes to it. And at the end of the day, who lost out is the married woman. And those who wanted the what other relationship to come in, won. So that is what happens. So if you've got an MP who you vote for, who does not even reach out to you, who does not have meetings in the constituency, who is he or she representing in parliament? If your councillor is not engaging you, who is he or she representing in council? I think that is a question that every Zimbabwean who puts an X should start asking themselves as they go into 2023 elections.
You've also mentioned about the power of women. If women work together in Zimbabwe, our current statistics is 52% of women constitute the Zimbabwean population. You've worked with Dr. Zanu Pf as a spokesperson, and you then started your own party. How do you see maybe women working together and maybe unable to work together for change or maybe for influence?
Like I've highlighted, women are the patriarchal gatekeepers in this country. If we surely wanted change that would benefit women in this country, we would actually work together and come out with something that benefits women. The sad part is most people are more interested in what's in it for me, not serving people. As long as we still have that mindset, we will not get to a stage where women will be able to work together. Because a lot of people will say, kupati kwa linda kuna mahali. They're looking for the money. They're not looking for them to work to get to a level where they're influential and can turn around things. I've always told a lot of people, if I loved money too much, I wouldn't be where I am today. But I've always said to myself, I am working for the people. I'm working for Zimbabwe. There's a change that I'm supposed to leave in this country. I need to leave a legacy that at least I managed to change and turn around the type of politics that we have in this country. From politics of populism to politics of service. We need leaders that serve the people, not leaders who serve their pockets. Look at the amount of wealth that politicians in Zimbabwe have. Compare with the livelihoods of the ordinary people that they gather in stadiums. Some will be weary. But what people don't know is when political leaders fill stadiums, they're not doing it to just show popularity. They're doing it so that they can go and look for money. I've got people. Give me money. And you're actually making someone very wealthy by just attending a rally, and that is a reality. That is what people don't know. Millions exchange hands between politicians, and I'll say it candidly, because people have been manipulated and used for a very long time for political agendas which will never benefit them at the end of the day. But money goes into politicians' pockets.
Talking about money, I think a lot of narratives have been used for people to decampaign other people. You've been accused of being a Zanu Pf project. How do you comment on that?
That is nonsensical. I mean, that is nonsense, to say the least. Those are actually utterances to discredit a person who will not be towing a certain narrative. I'll give you an example. When Job Sikala left the MDC, he was called the Zanu Pf project. When Welshman Ncube formed MDC 99, he was called the Zanu Pf project. When Tendai BT started the MDC PDP with the Elton Mangoma and Lucia Matibenga and everything, they were called Zanu Pf CIOs and the Zanu Pf project. When Dr. Thokozani Kupe stood her ground fighting for her constitutional right, she was called Munwe Zanu Pf. Let's come to today. Welshman Ncube is back with Chamisa. Tendai BT is back with Chamisa. Thokozani Kupe is back with Chamisa. Why is he working with the Zanu Pf people if he's also not Zanu Pf? This is just a lingo that is used to discredit someone so that people will not listen to that particular person, because Zanu Pf has got no money to create projects or to give people money to work on their behalf. That has never happened. A lot of people in Zanu Pf are actually disgruntled. It doesn't make sense. It is only the stupid, I'm sorry to say this, who believe such type of nonsense. They should start questioning why the current Triple C leader is working with the very same people he also labeled Zanu Pf back then when they were not agreeing in terms of what they were doing. If people can unpack that, then they'll know that Kunachu runs the Zanu Pf project at the end of the day. And lastly, there are no permanent friends or enemies in politics.
As we maybe talk about the digital age, we see social media maybe as a tool for politicians to also advance maybe their agenda, or even as a way to campaign as well. How do you see women participation as an individual yourself? How do you see your participation maybe being able to amplify your voice in politics?
My voice has always been amplified. I'm not blowing my horn, but I'm always one person who speaks what she feels like saying at that particular time. And I'll always say whatever I feel like saying at any particular time. And because I understand the type of politics in our country, I just leave the information there. And time and again, you'll find that when some people realize that they were wrong, they'll start taking that and say, but Linda once said this. So it is actually important that I just love digital footprints. Because when things start unfolding, we'll just come back, take the screenshots and bring them back that on such a particular day, I actually stated this. So I think for me, it is quite important to continue just speaking my mind without fear or favor. And then gradually people will start seeing the truth. And when they see the truth, they'll appreciate it. There's one statement that the late Dr. Magen Richard Changera used to like and say a lot. So people will learn, people will see, and we will allow them to move at their own pace. Everything is a process. And I think social media actually did us a lot of good. At least people are able to tell the truth from false things. And even if they think that you're lying, eventually things will unfold and they'll find out, no, this person wasn't lying. So I'll always keep on posting what I know is true and what people need to know. And if they think that they don't want to know that, at least someday they'll be able to connect the dots and say, but she said this.
And how do you comment on name calling, cyberbullying? Do you think it affects you as an individual?
I'm not even bothered at all. I actually go through all my comments and laugh at some of them and say, but I don't forget, I don't depend, you know. But sometimes I think it also reflects on who we are as a society, our broken social fabric, our state of mental health. Because you will not find, I think, a grown man typing some of the things we see on social media. You start asking yourself, what kind of person is this? Does this person have a family? What is the family thinking, especially for those who don't use ghost accounts? So I think mental health issues are real. And people really need some mental health awareness for them to be able to understand that maybe sometimes they're actually going through things and they cannot even relate or deal with whatever they're going through, and they just find it easier to hide behind a keyboard and start insulting someone. So I really feel sorry for most of the people who insult me. I do. Just yesterday, I even replied to one who had actually insulted me on a Facebook interview. And I just told them, thank you for your perspective. That is what I do these days. If I don't block you, I'll thank you.
But don't you think that it might be something that is used to discourage women in participating in politics? We have women maybe trying to participate, and people quickly turn to their families, to their relationships, and so on, in maybe in a way to discredit them. Do you think that some women are moved?
It also happens to men. Like I said, we live in a carnivorous world. No one doesn't want anyone to advance. That is the reality. And most of the times, the people who start discrediting you are your very close friends or your own family. Before you even go far away. You know? So at the end of the day, when you've got a dream and when you've got a vision, it is up to you to make sure that you live your dream and you live your vision. A lot of people have asked me why I've been married 5 times. If you do not believe in my vision, I will leave you and focus on my vision. That's who I am. I can only have a partner who believes in me, who's going to be able to help me realize my dream. I will not leave my dream and my vision for another woman's child, because I've got my own life and things that I want to accomplish in my lifetime that will fulfill me and my desires and wants under the sun. So at the end of the day, if you've got a dream and you want to live it, it is up to you, the dreamer, to make sure that you fulfill what you want, and what will make you feel that you're a self-actualized person.
Maybe as we close, what word would you leave with Zimbabweans or even women who also want to be like you, who also want to be in politics like you?
I think in conclusion, I'll just say, be you, be real. Don't follow crowds going the wrong direction or try to fit in where you do not fit in. When you wake up every morning, look in the mirror and vision the person you want to become and tell yourself that you will become that person. Work on personal development. Work in becoming that particular person and never let anyone take you out of the lane of where you want to go. One of the biggest problems with women, I'll give you an example. We had a very vibrant Manicaland spokesperson. But she had to leave politics because the boyfriend had said, I will no longer marry you if you pursue this. And I told her that, my darling, yes, you want to get married. But a man who loves you will believe in your vision and your dream. This one is taking you away from your passion. He will hurt you. A man who loves you will not take you away from what you're passionate about. Most women have failed to live their dreams, have failed to be fulfilled because they want to live their lives to please a man who can leave you at any time. So at the end of the day, be who you want to be and never let anyone take you out of the lane of where you want to go.
And as we draw towards the election, the 2023 election, what is your word to Zimbabweans?
My word to Zimbabweans is we are all Zimbabweans before we belong to any political party. Never be used to fight wars of politicians. There are no politicians who are enemies. We actually drink tea together, converse, chat, and laugh. You are the ones who will be fighting each other on the ground, maiming each other, killing each other. But when we meet, we laugh together. If we laugh together, why can't you laugh together? If we can tolerate each other in families, going to different churches, having different religions, or even coming from different political parties, I haven't seen a family where they say Sekuran supporter Zanu at Zanu. We will still go there and even bury him when he dies. So why is it that people don't know each other or fight each other for being Zanu and MDC or Triple C or lead? Let us put love first, tolerate each other, and be peaceful people. Just say no to violence. Just refuse to be used for alcohol or bronco, whatever that you're given, and focus on being the peacemaker.
Thank you so much, President Linda, for joining us on this episode of The Shift. And thank you for your time and quite inspiring about your story. And I believe that many women have been inspired to also participate in politics, because if you can do it, indeed they can also do it. And thank you so much to the viewers who have joined in today on this episode of The Shift. I'm your host, Rimbonyika Zinu, and it's a good afternoon.